Well, Shadow Treasurer and Deputy Liberal Leader Ted O'Brien joins us now from Melbourne. Good morning to you, Ted.
Good morning, Bridget.
Good to talk to you this morning. Look, a little bit of relief this morning for Australian families on the minimum wage. Is this overdue?
Well, there's no doubt that this is welcomed relief for a lot of Australian workers who have been suffering from an extraordinary rise in the price of everything. And I don't blame them for really feeling the pain and expressing their hurt, because they were promised by the Albanese government that prices would come down. They only continue to go up. So while I do welcome that, I also note that other things are going up. Prices of electricity will go up as high as 9.7% across some parts of the country. If you're in the market for a new car, well, prices of cars are going to go up because of the new car tax. If you're even sending a letter, the price of stamps are going up. So the price of everything does continue to rise, which is why I do support at least one thing the government has said since the election, and that is the Treasurer has said that his budget is not sustainable. People are going backwards in terms of their standard of living, and that is a direct consequence of bad public policy.
Well, it seems as though voters, Ted O'Brien, really understood that there are very complex global economic factors driving a lot of the price rises we're seeing in Australia. Do you think voters out there blame the Albanese government for the price rises they're seeing in their home budgets?
I'll let others comment about who voters blame, Bridget, but the truth is inflation and, of course, interest rates have persisted higher for longer in Australia, and that is a direct consequence of the Labor government's policy settings. That hasn't been the case in other parts of the world. It's why we have seen Australia's standard of living drop more than nearly every other advanced economy. All those other countries are also facing the uncertainties and volatility of the global economy. But why is it that the Australian people are seeing their standard of living drop more than anyone else? Why is it that Australia's competitiveness is diving? Why is it that Australia's productivity is going backwards? All of these things are a direct consequence of the Labor government's policy settings, and I look forward to the Prime Minister answering those questions when you speak to him.
You have received an invitation to the government's economic roundtable in August. What specific ideas will you be pushing at that forum if you accept that invitation?
You're right, and in fact, Bridget, I have accepted that invitation from the Treasurer, and as Susan Lee has made clear, as an opposition, the Coalition will be constructive where we can and critical where we must. But our expectation is that Jim Chalmers delivers on his promise of not being ideological and being open-minded. If he truly wants to deal with productivity, then he, along with Anthony Albanese, has to be prepared to listen to ideas around everything from energy policy, industrial relations, regulation, competition policy and, of course, taxation.
And what specific ideas will you...
that invitation.
Have you got a set of specific ideas you'll be taking to that roundtable?
As Susan Lee has made clear, the Coalition will take its time to review the policies that we took to the last election before we start releasing new policies for this one. At this point, I'm taking Jim Chalmers at his word, but I have to say the Coalition will be prepared to withdraw our participation as quickly as we extended it if he breaches his word to the Australian people about not being ideological and being open-minded in the national interest.
So, sorry, on what issues would you withdraw your acceptance of your invitation, and what issues? If the economic roundtable isn't focused on a specific issue, will you not go?
Bridget, it's not so much me pointing to issues, it's actually a matter of principle. This government has made lots of promises well over 3 years now and keeps breaking them. Only a few months ago, the Treasurer told the Australian people the budget was, in his words, in good nick. Now he says it's not sustainable. He told the Australian people that the economy had turned the corner. Since we've received results from the national accounts that actually says that growth is running around half of its long-run average. So he hasn't been honest with the Australian people. And that deeply concerns me. And so we are going in out of principle saying we'll be constructive but critical where we must. But really it's up to Labor now. Will the Treasurer and the Prime Minister be good on their word? Let's wait and see. I'm hoping they are, by the way. It's in Australia's national interest, and I'm certainly, for now, giving them the benefit of the doubt.
All right, on a couple of other issues, Ted O'Brien, what work is going into the federal Liberal Party post the election, particularly on listening to Australian women? Because one of your colleagues, Angus Taylor, says he doesn't support quotas and that, in fact, they subvert democratic processes. Do you agree?
Well, there's no doubt that we were hit pretty hard at the last election. I think we've been open and we have been very humble about that too, Bridget. And we have to listen, as Susan Lee has made clear, and we all are. We're out there. I mean, I'm a Queenslander. I'm down in Victoria this week. I'm out there and I'm listening as much as I can to the Australian people. When it comes to having more women in the Liberal Party, yes, absolutely. That is a clear objective. I mean, I'm saddened by the fact that we had probably well over 25 really great female candidates under the Liberal banner go to the last election and they didn't win their seats. We need more women representing the Liberal Party and in more winnable seats. Now, how that is to be done, as Susan has outlined, will be a matter for each division of the Liberal Party. The way the Liberal Party is structured, it's a federated system, and so each division will make up their mind. What we have a very clear focus on is the outcome. And the outcome is the Liberal Party really is the party founded truly by a lot of the hard work of Australian women. It is the party for Australian women, but we need more women in our ranks. We're being very open about that, and we've got a lot of heavy lifting to do to get to that objective.
Yeah, quite a bit of work to do there. Just on a final issue, are you concerned about the amount of Indigenous deaths in custody we're seeing across the nation, and what sort of policy reform do you think is needed to turn this around?
I am concerned, and I believe everybody in the parliament would be concerned. And ultimately, you know, your first instinct when you do hear about a death in custody is to want to extend your deepest condolences for the family, to the family and the friends. But from a public policy point of view, we need to understand the causes that deliver that sad outcome. And we, of course, will continue to be very cooperative and constructive with the government. But they have to get to understanding the causes, the drivers. While we must sympathise with the outcome, we must ensure we wrap our arms and support the families. From a public policy point of view, why is this happening in the first place? That has to be the key priority of government. And under Senator Little, the Shadow Minister of the Coalition, will be ensuring we keep the government to account on just that.
All right, Ted O'Brien, thanks for your time.